Before I forget the storyline I was about to tell, I'm going to tell you how I met Mike, but I'm going to tell you how the storyline I was about to tell. Mike, we were riding through the park, and this man, I'll never forget, he had this, it was at Avita Springs, we had this, I'm short, sorry, we had this man that had his pig on the side of his white truck, right? It just was a picture of the pig. And it said hug something, I can't remember what it said, but he said, hey, he had a leather card when he checked in, and he threw it at us. Well, I knew what a leather card meant with Western Horizon, because that meant that he was an investor, and they, that's why they got leather cards. He said, does Mike Memorial own this park? I said, yes, sir, he does. And he said a few words and said, I'm going to whip his butt, but that's not what he said. And so we called Mike, and we said, there's a man that's down here threatening to, gonna beat you up and all this. He said, I'll be there in the morning. You tell him to be in that clubhouse and at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'll meet with you. And I'm thinking, okay, well, back then my husband wore overalls, sleeveless shirts. He worked out, he had all these muscles. We're like, Lamar, we need you to stand right here, or we're gonna have problems. And I said, Lonnie and Kellen were there, and we were like, yeah, stand right here. And so here comes the man in, and I said, that's him. And Mike goes, oh yeah, I know him. So he goes in, and what, five minutes?
First he made us shut the door.
Yeah, shut the door.
Alone, which I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And listen in on the other side.
And then he's bringing us credit cards. I said, what is this for? He said, I'm upgrading. And he walked out the door and left.
He said, Lonnie, come ride him up. He said, I'm upgrading.
Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, so, yeah. So I was working for Western Horizons, and I'm not going to say a lot of bad things, but I had a great gig. It just started. It was kind of weird, in our clubhouse at Avita Springs RV Resorts were signs everywhere that says, we are not for sale. This Western Horizons is not for sale. So, we would have these, so they moved me to Michigan, White Cloud, Michigan. I was going to be in Michigan for the summer, Avita in the winter. And I was like, wow, this is a great deal. I'll never be in the heat. So I take off to, stopped at Mountain Lakes. Everybody told me about Mountain Lakes, because ROD members would be there. So we stopped at Mountain Lakes, and that was when they were having the members were trying to buy the park. So we went on and left there, went on to Indiana and then to Michigan. Well, I was painting, me and my husband, we did this together, Lamar, and we were painting the last board of the playground. And this 903 number just kept blowing up my phone, and I'm like, who is calling me? So finally I answered, and he goes, hey, do you want to come home? I said, who are you? He said, I'm Mike Memorial, I own Avita Springs. I said, you're a scam, and I hung up. So they called back, and I kept going, why does this man keep calling me? So now, granted, I ain't working for Western Horizons, right? So I answered the phone, and he goes, don't hang up on me. I said, okay, I'm listening. I said, but you're going to answer some questions for me. He said, what's that? I said, tell me who the owner of Western Horizons is. He said, Jim Logan. I said, okay, who's my boss? Lynn Baird. I said, okay, I'm listening. He said, I bought the park. And I said, well, it's not for sale. It's got signs on it that says it's not for sale. He goes, no, I'm the owner. And he goes, I tell you what, you call them and see what they tell you. So sure enough, I called and I said, nobody would answer the phone. Finally they answered, and I said, what plans did y'all have for me? And they said, you're going to California. Now, I grew up in South Mississippi, and I've been in Louisiana, and I said, what part of California did I look like? I said, no, I'm not going to California. So, anyway, we went, I called him back, and I said, Mike, I said, I don't even know your last name. And he told me his last name, and so I said, when do I need to be there? We never discussed money, we didn't do anything. He said, I need you there yesterday. He said, but I tell you what, this was like end of September. He said, October 1st, I'm doing the closing. So he said, I'll be there the day before and we will meet. So, and if I think I'm right, Peter, on this, he had a member meeting, right? So I get there, my mom's supposed to get on the train. I had like 2 days to get there because my mom had never been on a train. So she was gonna get on the train and go to Michigan and ride back with me. So I'm trying to get to Louisiana from Michigan in a motorhome so that I don't, my mom don't go get on this train and then she won't, because I wasn't supposed to tell anybody else coming in. So we set up the meeting for the members. Well, he's late for the meeting. And what it was is there was a man that had like 2 or 3 days, right, Peter, when they did the search on the title, and this man would have been the one that would have owned Abita Springs, because we had not paid our taxes, Western Horizons had. So he had to go get all that fixed. But what's so special and ironic, it's kind of ironic that this past week I was at Abita Springs, and that's where I'm going back tomorrow. And I think about the way it was in '08 and how Abita Springs, the reason I was getting sent out, nobody came, and it was in the wintertime. In the summertime, because we didn't have the funds to do stuff that we used to do, like we do now with Ocean Canyon. And I look back, and I met Peter and Mike, and so he starts telling me that we, sorry, I'm trying to hold it together. He told me to go to Millwood, and it was only 3 hours from Abita Springs. So I go over, I said, Mike, there's no way it's longer than I just met this man. He said, no, it's 3 hours. I said, it takes 2 hours to get to Baton Rouge. So I get in the vehicle, my yellow Jeep, heading to Millwood, and I'm like, it says it's 8 hours. So I get to Texarkana, there's a tornado. I kept seeing people pulling off, and I'm like, wow, I can't even see in front of me. So I finally make it to Ashdown, and there's this car, back then he had like this Zuzu or something vehicle, and he's honking. I didn't know it was him. He's just honking the horn behind me, flashing his lights, and I'm like, who is this? So I pulled over, and so he gets out, and he goes, follow me! And I'm like, okay, so I follow him, and to Millwood, and I met Peter, and I gave me all the computers, and I take it back. But this man here, he was more than just a boss. He was more than just, he became, if you needed advice, whether you needed, sometimes you asked for it, sometimes you did, and you still got it, but he was always there for us, whether it was personal, whether it was business. If you needed a chewing out, by God, you got it, whether you deserved it or not. But sometimes, you catch yourself today saying stuff. I just had a meeting with the employees at Abita, and I was like, oh my God, I'm sitting here talking like him. But that's not a bad thing, But because we've had so many, stuff, so many meetings that we've had with him. And in 19, I had they said it was straight line wounds at Trace Rios, but that to me it looked like it was a twister. So I called him that night. It was like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I was crying because I was in Katrina, Hurricane Katrina back in the day. And so it reminded me of all that. So he said, don't worry, I'm going to bring all these tree people in. We're going to get this all cleaned up, and this is midnight. And so he said, I'll be there in the morning. So he shows up, and I said, well, do you want to go walk around? He goes, no. I said, do you want to go see all the trees? No. He said, you got to eat that elephant one bite at a time. I said, eat an elephant? I said, what are you talking about eating an elephant? I said, I got trees, So he goes back to the corporate office, I find this out, and he tells them, oh, don't worry, she only lost like 10 or 15 trees. But Miki, how many was it? It was as close to 100 or more. So anyway, he sent the crew, the tree crew was 2 people from the resort, and it was 1 week before July 4th weekend. So yeah, it was eat that elephant one bite at a time. So when I had to go to another resort at a hideaway and train another manager, he would say, you're gonna have to, he was like, because I would tell Mickey, I'm not gonna say, eat this elephant one bite at a time. That'll never come out of my mouth. Well, what do I do now? I tell people all the time, you just gotta eat that elephant one bite at a time. So that's one of my Mike-isms. The other thing, when my husband had his stroke in 2014, life was, and Lamar wanted me to say this on his behalf. Me and Mike, I will say this before I say that. We had our ups and downs too. I left a couple of times, but only for a few months because that man wouldn't leave you alone. You had to come back. So, which I'm very thankful. But when my husband had his stroke in 2014, December 1st, I remember calling him that night. First we had the heart attack. I remember driving. At that time, I was running a Beetle, Lamar was running Sticks. My husband was in Alabama, who had the only vehicle we owned. So my 2 activity directors just taking us to the hospital in Alabama. And it didn't sound good at all. It sounded like he was going to pass away right then and there. And so I called him. I didn't know what to do. I was like, Mike. And he started praying with me. And he called, he said, I'm calling the churches right now. I'm getting him on the prayer list. And every day he would call. And my husband at the time couldn't move. He couldn't see. He couldn't hear. He could barely talk. And Mike would tell me, don't listen to those doctors. We know the greater physician. He preached to us, in which I needed it. I'll be honest. I needed the strength. He would pray with me over that phone. He talked to Lamar, and he would tell Lamar, do not listen to what their doctors are telling you. You believe what the Bible is. Because of Mike Penori, my husband became a Christian through this in the hospital. And Lamar's life was changed because Lamar was an alcoholic. Lamar never touched alcohol ever again because of Mike Penori. And, it's just the little things that the man has done for us. And I want to say this about Amy. I'll never forget the day I met you. I'm at Styx River, and Mike comes into the park and he goes, this is Amy, and she's going to work with you today. I said, well, Mike, I don't work in the office. You have us working managers. We're outside working. Amy had to go work with me. We had to go, what was our first thing we did? Go pick up trash. So he had her riding around with me all day that day, working outside because of sales. He was dealing with sales, which was another thing. He sent me to Styx. Nobody told me that, we only at that time, only owned the marketing department. So I'll never forget, Peter, I walked into the office and, Mike wanted this done, Ben wanted this done, and I go in and ask Leanne for a check, and there's this man sitting there, and I said, I need a check. And this guy said, well, what do you need this for? And I said, well, I'm going to go buy stuff. I don't tell members what I'm going to go buy, sir. I didn't know to that day that was Ken Woven. So anyway, but yes, Mike Penori, I miss him. But you know what? He gave us the knowledge and the tools. He put people in place. And it's our job, with Peter's help, to fulfill these dreams that this man had. I'm very thankful that Ocean Canyon Properties has been very good to me and my husband. and that was given the opportunity to work for this company and to meet this man. I've never taken a job over the phone, but God put us in this place to meet him, and there's one thing that he taught us, the 3 rules at work: be on time, do your job, and your own business. And that's one thing that when I go to these resorts, I try to do that in a meeting. But Peter, thank you for trusting us with what we get to do, me and Mickey get to do every day. I love Ocean Canyon. He used to have it where it said where friends meet, but to me it's where family meet. And you'll always be part of my family.